also.
मतलब टीव्ही चालू असतो ना आवाज आला ना
इथे आता न्यूज केलाय तिथे बसता
सब दिसत नाही
80%, 81, 82. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I go to Ladies and gentlemen, before we go into the details of again Antim Crud, I'd like to explain some part of the history which is very interesting. See, the Shivaji Maharaj, the great of Maharashtra, he came into limelight after he killed Afzal Khan at Pratapgarh, the great battle of Pratapgarh. Before that, he was not recognized at all. So after that, he started touring, and suddenly he came to south and he captured Panna. Panna is a fort which is also the second capital of the Maratha kingdom. Now, Panna is the biggest mountain fort of Maharashtra. That's why you could have a force of more than 5,000 fighting force, and which could sustain a siege to Panna, that is Veda, Panna is the Veda, a siege to Panna for more than 1 year. So Shivaji Maharaj came there with a force of 3,000. They captured Panna, and that time the Adil Shah Badshah realized that this is a force to reckon with, and he sent Siddhizor with 42,000. He sent Siddhizor with 42,000. Now this 42,000, Siddhizor was a great general of Adil Shah, and this 42,000 was when Siddhizor came with 42,000. You'll realize that his strategy was such that 37,000 were employed around the siege of Panna, and 5,000 was the rapid action force. Now this rapid action force were only to exercise and eat well and rest. The Prati Shivaji or second Shivaji called Netaji Palkar, his general, tried to fight with this, break the siege twice, but twice he failed because Siddhizor, because of the rapid action force, that the fresh fighting force. So twice he was defeated, and he was in a fix. He didn't know how to break the siege. So Siddhizor didn't know what to do. I'm sorry, Netaji Palkar didn't know what to do. Luckily, Shivaji Maharaj could escape from Panna from the other side to Vishagarh. So this is not the thing. During the siege of Panna, same moment, there was a second danger on the Shivaji Maharaj's kingdom. At that time, this had come from the north with Aurangzeb's mama. His name was Shaista Khan. Shaista Khan came to Pune and he stayed in the palace where Shivaji Maharaj was brought up, That was known as Lal Mahal. So what Shaista Khan had come down with a force of 1,25,000. So Shaista Khan asked, because by the time the planning was going on, where to send which force and how to fight, how to conquer the territory of Shivaji Maharaj, Shaista Khan asked if there was a nearby fort where the forces could have some exercise. And then he came to know that there is a place called Sakan near near Pune, 30 kilometers away from Pune. And there was a fort, a ground level fort. So he asked how many men are there in the fort. They said that there are 300, 350 warriors in that fort. So he said that okay, this 25,000 I am deputing them to take over the fort, and he deputed 25,000 to take over Sakan fort. They tried it for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That was almost a month, but still they couldn't capture the fort. So Shaista Khan came there. This is what's the problem? Such a big force, and you cannot fight a small enemy of 300, 350. They said, well, they just don't allow us to come near. They throw anything on us, right from stones to javelins to bow, arrows, and so on. So he said that okay, what you do is you dig a tunnel, the arrow from the range of the arrow, dig a tunnel towards the fort. So tunnel was dug, and then it was filled up with a lot of dynamite. So he asked them to blow. So when the dynamite was blown out, a part of the fortress, the wall of the fort, part of the wall of the fort broke down. Still, for 24 hours, though with the huge force, Shaista Khan couldn't get into it. So Shaista Khan showed a flag of truce. He said that okay, I'll give you Abhay. Abhay is I'll give you life, but stop fighting. So because Abhay was given and the fighting stopped, he said that okay, I'll let you go scot free. Just give me that person who is the skilleddar of this fort. So skilleddar of the fort was Firangoji Narsale, or also known as Firangoji Narsala. So when Firangoji Narsala came, Shaista Khan told him, I'll make you Pas Hazari. Pas Hazari is 5,000, chief of 5,000 troops. That is Pas Hazari Masabdar. That is right from captain to directly brigadier. After captain, that is major. After major, there is lieutenant colonel. After lieutenant colonel, there is a brigadier colonel, and after colonel, there is a brigadier. So direct promotion from captain to brigadier. He refused. He said, no, I cannot leave Shivaji Maharaj. Exactly 20 years after, Sambhaji Maharaj had come of age. He was almost 19, 20 years old. Very brave, very good looking, and very intelligent also. That was a elder son of Shivaji Maharaj. And Sambhaji Maharaj had, because Sambhaji Maharaj's mother had died, that is Saibai. Saibai had died. So Sambhaji Maharaj was left with his stepmother, that is Soirabai. Soirabai had her own son. Soirabai wanted, her ambition was to make her son the Chhatrapati of Marathas. Now, to make her son look very nice and very capable, there were a lot of false claims on Sambhaji Maharaj, including that he rapes women, then he is high into alcohol, and he kidnaps Brahmin girls and rapes them, and a lot of false accusations were there. And Sambhaji Maharaj was really agitated. So fearing that Sambhaji Maharaj's young blood may make him revolt, Shivaji Maharaj sent him to Sajjangarh. Sajjangarh, where Ramdas Swami was there. So there he thought that Ramdas Swami might pacify Sambhaji Maharaj, and Sambhaji Maharaj will be pacified. So Sambhaji Maharaj had a force of his own. He had 5,000 fighting force with him. So when Sambhaji Maharaj went to Sachangarh, where he stayed for 8 days, but then he couldn't cope up with that pressure, religious pressure, and with the 5,000 force, he ran away with the 5,000 force and joined hands with the general of Aurangzeb, that is Diler Khan. So Diler Khan was more than happy to have the Yuvraj of Marathas with him. So when Sambhaji Maharaj came there, he joined him. So Diler Khan said, well, Raje, don't worry. We start conquering the Maratha territory from the border, not from the middle. Because if you try to do something from the middle, naturally there will be a lot of opposition, and from all over the forces will come in. So that when he came to know the strategy, they went near Nasik, and there was a gad called Bhopalgarh. There was a mountain fort called Bhopalgarh. The strength on this gad was 700 of Shivaji Maharaj's army, and Bhopalgarh, they had a siege of Bhopalgarh. Almost a month passed and there was no result. They just couldn't scale Bhopalgarh because they were throwing down stones, and when the defense was too good. Now now the problem with Diler Khan was that he wanted to hasten the operation, and he told Sambhaji Maharaj, he says, Sambhaji Raje, you become unarmed, पूरे आपके निशस्त्र हो जाओ, and walk up the Bhopalgarh. Now the Kildekar of Bhopalgarh was same, Chiranguji Narsala, same who was there at Sakal, and he was totally devoted to Shivaji Maharaj. So when he saw Sambhaji Maharaj coming up near the gate, he said, Bal Raja has come, my child, whom I have nursed as a small child. He has come. Open the gates. We have to allow him in. And he allowed Sambhaji Maharaj in. Along with that, Diler Khan's 50,000 people walked inside and they cut 700 hands. 700, both hands of 700 troops, the Maratha troops. So that was a part of Dahshat, maybe Marathi call it Dahshat, or to terrorize the enemy. So they cut both the hands of 700 troops, and Sambhaji Maharaj couldn't bear it. So that night, with his 5,000 troops, he ran away from there and came to Panna. Well, that's a later on story. But here, on hearing, because of my son, 700 people are invalid. 700 families are totally destroyed. They can't even scratch. Forget about washing their bums or eating or earning for themselves. They can't even scratch themselves. That was a big blow to Shivaji Maharaj, and Shivaji Maharaj used to love his troops like his own children. So that this blow was what we call, this blow was nothing but disappointed love, to whom is the favorite son Sambhaji Maharaj, because of whom this thing had happened, and plus 700 troops who had lost their hands. This was a disappointed love for Shivaji Maharaj, and because of disappointed love, suddenly he succumbed to rheumatoid arthritis. The Gudge Rog, we call it, he died of Gudge Rog. At the age of 50, he became a crippled. He became a crippled at the age of 50, and he died. So he died of a very great heartbroken man. So many people say that he was poisoned and all that, but if we think in scientific terms, disappointed love can give rise to crippled condition of the mind and the body, because that's why they say in disappointed love not necessarily means a love between a boy and a girl. It can be a love between a granny and a grandson. It can be love between a father and his daughter. Love is when you love someone wholeheartedly, not necessarily a boy and a girl. If I've cured a couple of cases where a granny who was attached to the niece, granddaughter, when the granny died, the granddaughter went into sudden loathing of life because she thought that it is no more living, no more worth living when her granny has died. And we have cured a couple of cases, not necessarily with Ignatia and Natramur, but with Antim Crud, because this, as I again repeated, disappointed love is not between only a girl and a boy. It can be between an animal and a man also. If is some people are very fond of their dogs and they live a big estate for a dog or a lot of money for a dog. Whenever the dog dies or whenever he dies, his will he leaves it to the dog. So these things have happened and we have seen it in the society. So whenever you are totally disappointed, not necessarily as I told you, boy and a girl, it can be any person whom you love wholeheartedly. It can be any person whom you love wholeheartedly. So here you'll find the finest thing about, now we come down to, I can say that Untitled Chapter is a college going student's remedy because it is a part and parcel in the college or even maybe in the final part of the school where you may have a crush, a boy may have a crush for a girl or a girl may have a crush for a boy, and then there is a disappointed love. Well, I went through that stage every 6 months in the college. Because every girl I used to see, I used to fall in love. Anyway, so every 6 months I used to try to propose her. So every 6 months I used to some girl I used to propose, and she used to turn me down, and that used to break my heart. I used to lose 2-3 kgs brooding, and probably because of Mukesh and Talat Mahmood songs, I could recoup. I could come back to normal stage. But those were the Darda Bhari songs which I used to sing. So they say the person who has got disappointed love in Antim Crud, he is always singing Darda Bhari songs. Like, I mean, he talks in rhymes and verses. He talks in rhymes and verses. मैंने तुझसे प्यार किया अबला समझकर तेरे बाप ने मुझे पीटा तबला समझकर. This type of वो शेर शायरी करेगा, बहुत सारा गाना गाएगा. He keeps on, especially in the evenings when there's a twilight. Twilight is Sandhi Prakash. In Marathi we call it Sandhi Prakash. And evenings there are a lot of different lights in the sky. The sky changes its color. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's green, different colors, yellow, orange. And during the lights, the evenings, he suddenly feels a great melancholy or sadness, depression, and then he goes into that mood, and there is loathing of life. He says, "Agar tu nahi to aur nahi." I can't live with you anymore, without you anymore. And there's no charm in this life. Loathing of life is no charm in this life. I can't tolerate staying without you. And he really goes into depressive moods, especially in the older old houses used to have colored glasses in the windows. If you have seen the old houses, you'll realize there used to be colored glass in the windows, and the thing which is to the beam, the light beam, the colored beams used to come, that is to make him more depressed. And they say, especially the mellow light, it is known as the mellow light, which comes from the different colored glasses, and you can make you depressed. And there's a loathing of life, and he sings in rhymes and verses. वो शेर शायरी करता है, बहुत सारी शेर शायरी करेगा, वो गाना गाएगा, and then try to make, he'll keep on watching. It's absolutely in the distance. He wants to keep to himself, and so on. So this is a part and parcel of what we say the disappointed love. That's why I said Antim Crud is truly a college going student's remedy. Apart from that, what I came across in Antim Crud was rheumatoid arthritis, especially worse in the summer and worse by cold water bath. Now remember, this is again a contradiction Summer is of course summer where summer is when there's a lot of heat. So Antim Crud cannot tolerate heat. Plus, he also cannot tolerate cold water bath. So ठंडा पानी से स्नान भी नहीं कर सकता और गर्मी भी नहीं सह कर सकता. So here we have during summer. That's why they say Antim Crud is the swine of homeopathy. आप कभी भी कोई भी swine को कोई भी सुअर को you'll never find him moving around in the during hot afternoons here and there. He'll be always sitting in some damp place or some garbage, and he'll be always sitting where there is a lot of shade. No swine has delicate skin. There is all rough skins. That's why Antim Crud also has this rough skin all over his body, or especially on the face. In Marathi, we call it amboli. Chehऱ्याची amboli झाली, we in Marathi call it. Amboli is the skin becomes thick because of pimples and all that. If you get summer boils, we also think of Antim Crud, where there is a summer boils, pimples, especially during summer. Some people they get aggravated during the summer, the pimples during the summer, and so especially during summer, he gets aggravated and he cannot tolerate summer heat in any form. Then Antim Crud is also having the heat stroke. Now, what is a heat stroke? I don't know if you have ever stayed in the areas like Vidarbha and Marathwada, where the temperature can range beyond 45 degrees Celsius. Well, person in the afternoon, probably if he is not carrying onions tied up on his head, on the occiput, not occiput, on the vertex, with a white cloth around, and he walks out without this onion on the head. He just walks out, and then he doesn't collapse on his legs. He falls down like this. There's suddenly a loss of blood to the head, or what we call the low blood pressure, and he falls down on the face direct. That is the heat stroke, and Antim Crud is also a remedy for heat stroke. That's why they say Antim Crud is the swine of homeopathy. A swine you will never find moving around during hot of the day, that is the afternoon. वो अकेले कभी भी आपको घूमते हुए दिखाई नहीं. And his features are also very thick featured है वो. And most important is the adipose tissue. Now, a lot of people are fat. I am also a fat person. But adipose tissue is when the fat keeps on hanging down from all there. We call it different tires of the body. There are a couple of tires. The bums have a tire, the abdomens have a tire, the hands where the fat is hanging down, the neck, the fat is hanging down. So wherever, like a swine, you'll find a lot of fat which is hanging down, and we call it the adipose tissue, where there's just thick, his features are thick, and his everything is hanging down, his thick features, and what we call the adipose tissue. So that's why it's known as a swine of homeopathy. Another thing is rheumatoid arthritis, especially worse in summer, where rheumatoid arthritis is always during the elderly age, where it is a very crippling condition, extremely crippling condition. The hands and the feet, they become awkward. They totally lose their tone, and the joints, they become awkward. They can, and then he becomes a cripple. He becomes a cripple in rheumatoid arthritis, and this can lead. It's a very painful condition, of course. Extremely painful condition, rheumatoid arthritis. He can't move, worse by motion. Then the classic tongue of Antim Crud. They say thick, milky, white coated tongue. Now, I don't know, again we go back to the swine, because swine, I don't, have you ever seen a swine eating healthy food? I don't think you have seen. He doesn't eat healthy food, except for the wild boar, of course. But the swines, what we say, see in the streets, they always are eating the garbage. They are the scavengers They are the scavengers of the society. Probably that's why the Islam says that it is a haram. It's a haram. So because they are the scavengers of the society, they eat garbage, they eat the stools, they eat whatever is decomposed. They don't eat the fresh food. They eat what is decomposed. Similarly, Antim Crud is having a great desire for acids and pickles. They say acids and pickles. Pickles also is a decomposed thing, because it is preserved sometimes for years. And in Gujarati we call it athanu. This pickles, this they are kept for a couple of days and then they are consumed. So their great desire for acids and pickles, great desire for sour foods. Sour is again decomposed food. Great desire for sour food. And when you have this type of foods, naturally you'll have tongue is the mirror of the stomach. So when the tongue is coated thick milky white, it is a mirror of the stomach. That means the stomach is not in a proper order. That's why it is olden days when they didn't have this colonoscopy or uh, the scopes, whatever you use, uh, laparoscopy and all that. When they didn't have that, how did they make out what was happening in the stomach? By the tongue. The tongue, that was a clinical diagnosis this old timer doctors did. And they used to see the tongue and they used to say, well, there's a problem with the stomach. The tongue, if it is clean, the stomach is clean. So the mirror of the stomach. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we have, as I told you, the thickness of the skin is one of the features of Antim Crud. The skin is thick, the features are thick. There is not delicate features. You don't have delicate eyes or delicate nose. They're all thick featured, thick lips, thick skin, and it also goes down to the soles where there are a lot of the soles become thick, and he cannot walk bare feet on a hard floor because of the multiple corns on the soles. The soles become thick, callous, callosities are there, and he cannot walk on the floor. He cannot walk on a hard floor. He has to have a very soft, oh, comfortable sleepers or shoes to walk, because he cannot walk when the floor is hard. The soles are very painful and sore. Yes, SORE, sore. They are very sore to touch and very painful. They can be multiple. In few cases I have treated. At a time, a person came to me. He was a typical or very obese and thick featured, and his foot, one foot was having almost 26 corns, another foot was having around 18 corns, and all were treated by you know, Antim Crud. So I think hello, do you hear me? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So here, all these people, all these ponds just came out. They just came out with Antim Crud. So Antim Crud is a great remedy whenever you have to share this type of mentals, and of course because of this bad eating habits of decomposed food like acids and pickles, they can be a diarrhea and vomiting alternative. One day is diarrhea and next day is constipation. Again, the third day will be diarrhea and fourth day will be constipation. So diarrhea and this alternating, we again think of is Antim Crud. So you any well, ladies and gentlemen, I have almost finished with Antim Crud. And do you have questions, please? Do you have questions? Hello? Any questions? No questions? Should I end it?
So it is a nice lecture.
Haji?
It was a nice lecture, sir.
Okay, so kind of you. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. Yeah, who is it? What's your name?
Dr. Mugdha.
Okay, fine. Thanks, Dr. Mehta. I hope you everyone understood and liked it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You are talking on behalf of everyone, Dr. Mukta. दूसरे कोई बात ही नहीं करने को तैयार यार.
So today I can imagine complete personality of Antim and Crud in front of me.
Oh, so nice of you. Yeah. It is like that. Yes. I won't name a politician, but you may be knowing that politician who has this personality. You can name him. I can't name him because I'm giving a lecture. Right? Shall we end the lecture?
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye. All the best. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
what do you want? Which remedy?
काय
I want Arnika.
नको ना थांब ना
Hmm?
मला दोघांनीच लागायचे
Arnika चाहिए?
Zinkum mate?
Zinkum mate is not for second year, na? I'm taking as per my.
अच्छा अच्छा okay.
तो second year का मैं course ले रहा हूँ. Because I have to cater to my own students, then people.
Gelsemium?
Gelsemium. We can go in for Gelsemium. Okay, we go for Gelsemium. Fine. Okay. Tomorrow we go for Gelsemium. Right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
कॉफी आणली आहे
Thank you.
कॉफी दे